Is New York becoming a dangerous place to live? This is a question that's been on the minds of many as we witness the surge in violent crime across the United States, particularly in the heart of the Big Apple. The year 2020 saw a shocking increase in the murder rate, escalating by a staggering 30%. This marked the most significant single-year rise in a century, a statistic that sends shivers down the spine. What's causing this alarming trend? There's not a single answer, but a cocktail of contributing factors. The pandemic, for one, has played a significant role. As it wreaked havoc across the globe, it also stirred up a storm of social and economic turmoil. Job loss, financial stress, and the general uncertainty of these unprecedented times have all added fuel to the fire. But there's more to it than just the fallout from a global health crisis. The availability of guns in the United States has long been a contentious issue, and it's certainly playing a part in this rising tide of violence. When firearms are easily accessible, it's all too simple for disputes to escalate into deadly encounters. Let's not forget about strained police-community relations either. In New York, like many other cities, there's a palpable tension between law enforcement and the communities they serve. This strained relationship can often exacerbate crime rates, creating a vicious cycle that's hard to break. And then there's the political climate. In an era of polarized politics, crime has become a hot-button issue. Differing ideologies on how to handle crime can lead to ineffective solutions and increased tension. As we watch this crime wave rise, we can't help but wonder, how is this affecting the housing market? Will it wash away the dreams of potential home buyers, or will it be a tide they can ride out? As we delve deeper into this issue, remember every cloud has a silver lining, and perhaps amidst this chaos, there is an opportunity to be discovered. When crime rates rise, the housing market trembles. It's a simple but powerful statement that rings true in many cities around the world, including the bustling metropolis of New York. Let's delve into the correlation between rising crime rates and the declining housing market. Imagine you're a home buyer, ready to plant roots and invest in a property. But then you notice headlines about rising crime rates in the area you were considering. That sense of security starts to wane, doesn't it? And that's exactly what's happening with many potential home buyers in New York. Areas plagued with high crime rates become less desirable, not just because of the immediate risk, but also due to potential impacts on property values and quality of life. Uncertainty breeds hesitation, and hesitation in the housing market can lead to stagnation or even decline. But it's not just speculation. The data reflects this sentiment. Reports have shown a significant drop in the number of homes sold in areas with a surge in crime. Property values are also taking a hit, with average selling prices in some neighborhoods decreasing by as much as 10% in the last year alone. Furthermore, a recent study found that over half of residents in high crime areas are considering moving, contributing to a potential exodus that could further depress the housing market. But it's not just the residents who are impacted. Real estate developers too are feeling the pinch. They're finding it harder to sell properties, leading to a slowdown in new developments. This ripple effect extends to local businesses and the overall economy, creating a cycle that's hard to break. Now, it's important to note that crime isn't the only factor influencing the housing market. Economic conditions, interest rates, and a host of other factors play a role. But crime, particularly violent crime, has a unique and profound impact that's hard to ignore. As homebuyers shy away from the rising crime, New York's housing market is taking a direct hit. It's a sobering reality that underscores the need for effective solutions to address crime and restore confidence in the city's neighborhoods. Study shows that repeat crime increased in New York due to justice reforms. In recent years, New York has seen a series of justice reforms aimed at creating a fairer judicial system. However, these changes have stirred up controversy, with critics arguing that they have unintentionally led to an increase in repeat crime. Let's delve into the data. The studies show that since the implementation of these justice reforms, New York has seen a noticeable uptick in repeat offenses. The intention behind these reforms was noble: to ensure that everyone, regardless of their economic status, has a fair chance in the courtroom. But the unforeseen consequence has been a revolving door of criminals, with individuals released without bail only to commit the same crimes again. Take the case of the bail reform law, for example. Enacted in 2020, this law eliminated cash bail for most misdemeanors and non-violent felonies, aiming to prevent poor defendants from languishing in jail because they couldn't afford bail. However, critics argue that this law has allowed repeat offenders to walk free, only to commit the same crimes again. Further adding to this is the Raise the Age law, which moved 16 and 17-year-olds from the adult criminal justice system to the youth system. While the aim was to prevent young offenders from being harshly penalized, the law has been linked to a spike in juvenile crime, as these young offenders often receive lighter sentences and are released back into society only to reoffend. These reforms have sparked fierce debates about the balance between ensuring fairness in the justice system and maintaining public safety. The critics argue that the pendulum has swung too far, leaving the public at risk from repeat offenders. It's a complex issue with no easy solutions. But one thing is clear: the impact of these reforms on the rate of repeat crime is undeniable. And as repeat crime rises, so too does the fear and uncertainty for New Yorkers, making the city a less desirable place to live and further impacting an already struggling housing market. In the face of rising crime, are the justice reforms making New York an even more dangerous place to live? With crime on the rise and the housing market in decline, what does the future hold for New York's housing market? As we gaze into the crystal ball of New York's future, we see a landscape shaped by two potent forces: crime and housing. These two factors, seemingly disconnected, are more intertwined than one might think. If the current trend continues, we might see a New York where home ownership becomes an increasingly rare phenomenon, dominated by those willing to brave the city's crime rates or those wealthy enough to secure homes in safer elite neighborhoods. The rest might be pushed towards renting, leading to a cityscape dominated by towering rental complexes. Now, let's add a pinch of data to our prophecy. A study by Zillow predicts a potential decline of home values in New York by as much as 10% in the next 5 years if the crime rates continue to rise. This could lead to a significant shift in the city's demographic profile, with middle-class families in particular choosing to move away. But what if the city manages to turn the tide on crime? A decrease in crime rates could breathe new life into the housing market. The city that never sleeps could once again become a beacon for home buyers and investors attracted by the allure of its vibrant culture and opportunities. However, this optimistic scenario hinges on substantial policy changes and reforms, particularly in the realm of justice. The current system, criticized for contributing to repeat offenses, needs a complete overhaul. If successful, such reforms could mark the beginning of a new era for New York's housing market. But let's not forget, the future is not set in stone. The city's fate lies in the hands of its policymakers, law enforcement agencies, and most importantly, its residents. Their actions or inaction will dictate whether New York becomes a city of renters or retains its diverse mix of homeowners. The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: rising crime rates and declining housing markets are closely intertwined. So is New York becoming a dangerous place to live? Let's take a look back at the key points we've discussed. We've painted a stark picture of the Big Apple, one that's been marred by a rise in crime rates. These aren't just numbers on a screen, they represent real people, real lives that have been affected. We've also delved into the housing market, a sector that's been hit hard by these rising crime rates. Homes in New York, once considered prime real estate, are now seen in a different light. The dream of owning a home in this bustling city is increasingly shrouded in doubt. And for those already in the housing market, the future seems uncertain at best. But we didn't stop there, did we? And we also explored the controversial justice reforms. While well-intentioned, these reforms have inadvertently led to an increase in repeat crime. The system that was designed to protect its citizens seems to have fallen short, leading to a vicious cycle of crime that's hard to break. The correlation between these elements is clear. The rise in crime rates, the decline in the housing market, and the questionable justice reforms are all interconnected. And unfortunately, it's the residents of New York who are bearing the brunt of it. So, to circle back to our initial question, is New York becoming a dangerous place to live? Well, if we're to go by the data, the answer seems to lean towards yes. But remember, this is a snapshot in time. Things can change, and hopefully for the better. The data doesn't lie. With rising crime rates and a declining housing market, New York is becoming an increasingly challenging place to call home. But let's not lose hope. After all, New York is a city of resilience, a city that has weathered many storms. Let's hope it finds its way again for the sake of its residents and for those who dream of calling it home.